Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. We have been looking at the topic of words devalued, that words, Shabda, Khandana. The word Shabda cannot remove ignorance, as it is itself a product of ignorance. And on the other hand, it cannot reveal the truth because it has no entry in the truth. Yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasasa. But one must not get lost in thinking it requires a disciplined approach. That approach is through thinking, so that we can come to zero thoughts. क्या कर रही है यार? So when we say words cannot remove ignorance and words cannot reveal the truth, first question will come, I should not use the words. Do we have the acumen? Do we have the capability to be without words? Is our mind ready to be without words? We talk to ourselves the most. And how is this talking taking place? Through words. So our masters and our scriptures have concocted a beautiful scheme by way of which, keeping this view that words cannot remove ignorance and words cannot reveal the truth, we bring about the destruction of the word consciously. Shabdalaya. They become dissolved. Thinking, speaking requires effort. Wherever there is an effort, there is activity. Through activity, we want to go to unactivity, zero activity. And where there is zero activity, mind is silent. Mind is without any waves of thoughts. See? So the seeker must not get frustrated. Words cannot remove their ignorance, words cannot reveal the truth. And I don't know how to remove the word from my mind. What do I do? I think all this is humbug. And he becomes disenchanted with what he has heard, because practically it is not happening. And this is exactly what the scriptures are coming as a mirror to us. It is happening, but you are not recognizing. This is apurna jnana. See? So, general understanding is that there are thoughts in waking and dream. Thoughts are words in waking and dream. In deep sleep, there are no thoughts. There are no words. There is silence. The fact remains you are unaware of that silence while it is taking place. How do we remain awake in spite of the silence? That is our goal. Where do we work on it? In the dream? Not possible. Only sphere where we can function is the waking plane. In this waking plane, the equipment that we have available is not the no body in deep sleep. Dream body is also not available. Only the physical body at this very moment. And we have our breath and we have our mind at our disposal. And we have to utilize these in order to recreate the experience of sleep without going to sleep. And it must happen naturally. It must not happen forcefully. You can bring that condition by alcohol, by drugs, by some medicines, by some herbs. You can bring that state. But eventually you will fall into sleep, or you will go into thought fixation, and you will have many, many repercussions as a result of that afterwards. We want in the waking plane to recreate the natural glide to happen. That is only possible when we do not, two ways. Either we do not interfere with what is going on in the mind, which we find sometimes very difficult, because I think I am the mind, which is a wrong conclusion. And the second option we have is we introduce such thoughts in the mind which are able to dissolve as they mature. For example, we have done this before. For example, Vaikhari Madhyama Pashyanti Para. You start with loud chanting, it becomes mental chanting, and then eventually it leads to Samadhi, which is zero mind, and you are awake. You're conscious. That is one way. Another way is you consciously think that the earth element, which is your Mooladhar, that is where our attention is at this moment, is moving and merging into its source, which is the Swadhisthana chakra. In turn, Swadhisthana is merging into Manipur merely by bringing your attention. Nothing needs to be done. The energy is moving. Energy is mind. So, energy is moving to Manipur. That is the fire. From Manipur, you shift your attention to the heart chakra, your solar plexus. That is the air element between the navel and the solar plexus. Is the fire, and from there to the throat is the air. So what we are doing here is the earth element, which is at the Mooladhar, is dissolved into the water element, which expresses as the genitals, which in turn merges into the fire element, which is at the navel. So it's not just the navel, it is also the area between the genitals and the navel. So as you're moving upwards. And same way, the fire element merging into the air element, which is at the heart, and the air element merging into the space element, which is at the hollow of your throat. All these are words, shabda. But what has it done? It has taken a support with which we believe we are. We believe we are the body. So we have taken the support of the body, and we know we know means we have heard and we have accepted that these are the locations of these five elements. And systematically, consciously, we feel the energy move from the grossest element to the subtlest. Space being the cause of all others. But space cannot exist by its own. By the time we come to the throat, then what is the next frontier? The five senses. What are these five senses? These five elements, Mooladhar, Swadhisthana, Manipur, Anahat and Vishuddhi. These five elements, they find an escape through the five senses, which are also made up of these five elements. The eye, the nose is the earth element, subtle. Then tongue is the water element, taste. Fire is the throat element, speech. Or and also eyes. Then air element again is the nose, the breath. Also, not the nose, sorry, nose was the smell, the earth element. The air element is the skin, where which feels. And the air space element is the ears. And through this, these five elements escape, or when these five elements express as these five senses, at that very moment, the world which is made up of these five elements appears. In sleep, these five elements are unable to escape out of these five senses. Escape is not the right word, but are unable to express as the five senses through the five senses. Therefore, the world is not available to us. Once this is crossed, once our attention, as we are coming higher and higher into our own being, from Muladhar, what happens? All security and fear vanishes. At Swadhisthana, all desire leaves us automatically. We don't have to do anything. At Manipur, all greed goes away. At the heart level, attachment to the world goes away. We fall in love with ourselves. At Vishuddhi Chakra, we remain focused on the self without any distraction. Till here, the Jada Samadhi takes place, inert Samadhi, which is blissful, ecstatic. How do I convert this experience of Samadhi, which is ecstatic and wonderful, into a 24/7 abidance, even when I am moving in the world? For that, I need to move from the hollow of my throat to the third eye. And in between are these five senses. And this is where the tapasya comes. World will keep coming at us through these senses. We should remain undisturbed. We should not run after the world. We remain focused on the I that we are, the consciousness that we are. Instead of, remember, we put attention on all the five chakras. Now don't put your attention on the five senses. Keep your attention, be aware of the third eye. Look but don't look, hear but don't hear, smell but don't smell. Meaning you're not reacting to anything. You're taking an equanimous position. The power to be that way comes by our focus on I. It comes through our awareness of who we are the witness of the five senses. We are not the five senses. We are the witness of five senses. And if five senses are creating many words and thoughts in our mind, if I think about them, then there'll be even more. So what do I do? I remain focused on the consciousness that I am, and the location is the third eye. When I So I came to know the eye without any impediments at the Vishuddhi chakra. At the sensory level, the world was still available. Now, my aim is to convert the experience of the world into a divine experience so that world doesn't give me, while functioning through the world, in the world, I continue to experience and abide in the bliss that I am. For that, this presupposition that the world is separate from me, the conscious principle, this has to be dissolved. And that will happen only when we go beyond the five senses. When we come to the third eye, there, by grace, the realization comes that world is only a phenomena, and this world and the creator of the world are one and the same. The Purusha alone is expressed, Purusha and Prakriti. This is the place of Ardhanarishwar. This is the place of Shiva Shakti. And this becomes crystal clear that Shakti cannot be without the Shiva. The Idam cannot be without the Aham. Aham cannot be without the Idam. Both are coexisting. Nothing can be done about the phenomena. And in spite of the phenomena, I continue to remain with the self. And another thing happens, and that is that these two, the Aham and the Idam, the Shiva and Shakti, they are both made from the same material. They are expressions of one appearing as two. It is only a conviction, it is not a realization. For that realization, how they are one, how the Purusha or the I is pervading the mind, or how the Purusha, the Shiva, is pervading the Shakti. This becomes available to the seeker in Sahasrar. Sahasrar is where the self is behind every eye. Sahasra Shirsha Purushaha Sahasraksha Sahasrapad. The self is behind every eye as vision. Self is behind every ear as the hearing ability. Behind every human being is the same self, just as in the dream, in everything, every person Space, air, fire, water, earth, people, mind, past, future, birth, death. Everything is nothing but the mind. This realization comes about when we reach the Sahasrar. Sahasrar is when our attention is at the top of our head, the fontanel. This is step-by-step liberation, Laya Prakriya, by way of which we have dissolved the mind by introducing a particular process. We have not created anything. We have dissolved the mind. When it comes to Sahasrar, there is no objectivity. It's only a suggestion. Sahasra Shirsha Purusha. Mind stops. And the self which is by nature all pervasive, we recognize that natural state. When we don't have suggestions like this, the mind goes to sleep. When we have something, some support, whether it be of what we just said, or it is of Om, or it is of your japa, and you have faith in it, a reverence in it, and committed to practice it to its natural conclusion, then the dissolution happens automatically, naturally.